Hey, Speed Demons, and welcome to the American Downhillers podcast, episode 11, presented by skiracing.com. Thank you for all listening and watching, and keep spreading the word to your friends. Today, we will break down the Olympic men's downhill, which went off last night here in the US after a 24-hour delay. We'll also share with you some of our stories from our 13 total Olympic experiences ranging from 1984 to 2014. Hi, everyone. I'm Doug Lewis, two-time Olympic downhiller, and my two Olympic experiences were in 1984 Sarajevo and then in 1988 in Calgary. I did not medal in either, but the experiences were unbelievable, unforgettable, and changed my life forever. If I had to pick one Olympics that were my favorite, it has to be Sarajevo. I was 20 years old. I was on the team with 5 Olympic medalists. Debbie Armstrong, Kirsten Cooper, Phil and Steve Mayer, and my roommate, Bill Johnson, making history. And what I learned in Sarajevo helped me to win that bronze medal just a year later. So going as a 20-year-old and not being on the podium was definitely a great experience. Hey, joining me are 3 of the fastest American downhillers in our Olympic history. First of all, founder of the American Downhillers, Marco Sullivan, a 4-time Olympian who was named to 2002, 2006, 2010, and 2014 games, and had a 9th in the downhill and snow basin 20 years ago. Hey, Marco, your favorite Olympics and why?
20 years ago. That is crazy. But I got to say, my first one was also my favorite in Salt Lake. Short 8-hour drive from home where I grew up, and family and friends all came out. I ended up having a great race. I was top 10. I was 21 years old, no expectations. Got to walk in the opening ceremonies. Just an overall awesome experience. And the next 3 didn't quite play out the way I wanted them. So that first one was really the one for me.
You can't stress enough that the Olympics are 2 minutes out of every 4 years, and you better be on it. Hey, our next American downhiller, Darren Rawls, member of 3 Olympic teams, Nagano 1998, Snow Basin as well in 2002, and also in Sestriere 2006. He has 4 top 10s at the Olympic Games. Darren, what's your favorite Olympics and why?
Hey, boys. Well, I have to say it was my first one as well. It was just a big eye-opener. Going to Japan, new culture, just a kind of a rookie on the team, and having like AJ, Mo, Ras, Peekaboo all there to kind of lead the way. I think it was, I was just trying to learn what was going on, and I had a good race there, but just, I think just the overall feeling of just the first time, how big it actually is. Everybody knows how big the Olympics are, but you don't know until you get there. And it was a special feeling. And then I think, obviously what Marco was saying, 2002, I was there with him. He did a great job, like skied so good. And I think the highlight was for all of us to walk in together, represent our own nation in the US. And like Marco also mentioned, like all of our friends that showed from Tahoe, just a short drive away. And we had a killer group. So those 2, I mean, can't really pick a favorite, but those 2 were huge highlights.
Awesome. And finally, AJ Kitt, the first 4-time Olympian in the U.S. ski team's history, and competed with me in Calgary, 1992 in Albertville, 1994 in Kvitfjell, and also Nagano, 1998 with a best of 9th in 1992. AJ, 4-time Olympian. How are you going to pick? What was your favorite?
That was an easy one for me because 94 when Mo won, we had a great team. We were, a band of brothers at that time. And, just having one of your teammates have that kind of success was great. I mean, obviously, you go to the Olympics and you're dreaming about your own successes. And for me, 9th was my best over my career. But to be part of, that celebration with one of our teammates, a guy that, you live with, you travel with, you train with, you bleed with, and to have a teammate do that was just amazing. My first one was great with you, Lou, in 88, because it was the first, and it was just eye-opening. I had no expectation of making the Olympic team that year. 92, was the year I was skiing the best of all the Olympic years, and I had some expectations, but that course was not set for downhillers in 92. But and then Nagano, I was out there with these guys, and Darren and that crew as we were kind of handing off the baton. that was super fun. I mean, Nagano was different. It was a challenging week because we had such delays, but yeah, they were all amazing. And actually, I got to sort of experience 2002 with Marco and Darren and the Tahoe gang. I was working for NBC at that one, and got to know a lot of the Tahoe brotherhood, and they all came out, and so that was great. I've got a lot of great Olympic experiences.
Hey, let's jump right into controversy. I'm going to throw this one to Marco. First training run on a new course, they were just kind of checking it out. A lot of missed gates. Second training run, they amped it up. I think Kilda won that one. And then on the third training run, it was windy, but they started, but only got 3 racers in before canceling. Marco, what's the controversy and why should we care about that?
I mean, I think the controversy is you had those 3 guys who were all contenders. It was Kilda, Meyer, and Innerhofer. They got an extra run on the course, and that the way I think the actual thing that didn't sit well with the other racers was it was really windy that day. Those first 3 racers definitely they were having issues. They were getting blown around. It didn't look safe, but the way the race director immediately canceled the run right after number 3, it's just like, okay, we're done. I think the racers felt like there should have been a little compromise there, where maybe they waited and let the wind die down. Or I think the racers were talking at the top saying, we want to run in our clothes. We want to maybe run from halfway. We just want to get some more time on this hill because we haven't been on it. And it seemed like there was no question there. It was done. And I think it kind of highlighted the disconnect of the athlete's voice from the officials, and that's always been a little bit of an issue. There was, I think, a few racers were pretty vocal about it. I saw some quotes from Marco Odermatt, just that it wasn't fair that these guys got the run, and you can kind of go either way. I would say it wasn't safe because of the wind, and they had to make a call to kind of pause it at that moment, but maybe they could have waited and seen what happened. Ultimately, only one of those guys ended up on the podium, Matthias Meyer. So it was, if Kilda would have won the thing like everyone kind of expected, I think it would have been a lot bigger story.
Any thoughts, AJ, Darren?
I was saying Mark made a great point there as far as trying to wait out a little more, give those other athletes a chance to get on the hill, either a run in their clothes or a lower start. I think it was unfair for sure. And none of these guys have had a chance to get on this hill before. They're all new to it. And the more time you can get, just feel the terrain, feel the snow. I mean, the snow is the biggest issue. The snow is the biggest factor. You see everybody having problems with it, top to bottom, mostly in the bottom part. And maybe just a little extra time to kind of feel the setup in, and just like, hey, I need to make this little extra change before the race. And that would have helped a little more time on the hill for everybody.
And as someone who's been on the short end of the stick of some questionable FIS decisions in my career, I can tell you that I sympathize with those guys who feel like they, weren't treated fairly or didn't get the same opportunity as a few of their competitors. But on the other hand, I got to say, it's an outdoor sport, and there's always things like this that happen. Safety's always got to be first. So that decision to shut down training was probably the right decision. But, on the other hand, Monday morning quarterback on that one. Maybe a clothed training run for everybody where you're not allowed to, tuck or whatever, set some goalposts. That might've been the right way to go. But heck, I mean, I'm not in the race director's shoes. I wasn't on the hill. I don't know what all was going on. So, there's nothing like a little controversy for some Olympics, right?
Well, it's funny because they're taking this cautious approach too far. I mean, almost treating like these World Cup guys like U16s. I mean, more turns and Kitzbühel, slowing everything down. Shaving jumps down. It's like these guys are the best in the world. They train for it. Yes, there's going to be some you don't want to have everybody having a big problem, in a dangerous spot. But it's like put these guys to the test. And that was one thing too. In training, I was surprised in the race because training didn't seem like there was a big deciding factor on the hill. There's 28 guys within a second on that last training run. It just shows there wasn't a huge differentiating, place on the hill to separate all these guys. But in the race, I think the speeds were up higher, and these guys are pushing the line more. So there were some, like, a lot of guys blowing it in the last left footer there before the flats, you know, like that was pretty much the money turn right there for the race.
That's, you can't ever do that.
Yeah. I agree with everything said. I just will add, you know, this is a year of special circumstances, right? They let Creekmeyer do a fake training run because of that COVID circumstance. This circumstance, they've never run it before. It's brand new. Let them go with Coates. You know, they're big boys. They can figure it out. Just give them the information about the danger. But let them go because it was a special circumstance. Anyway, another thing before we get to the race, because the race was so exciting, we had a question about delays. So this is from Matt Alfano. How did you guys deal with cancellation of big races like the Hahnenkamm, or if they delayed it for a day? AJ, you said they delayed it for a week, and at your Olympics, it was delayed to 7 days. How do you guys deal with delays? And what goes through your mind? How do you get through it? Who wants this one?
Yeah, I mean, Nagano, I think was an 8-day delay. And that was, I mean, I got to say that, again, our sport's full of factors, right? And having delays is definitely one of them. You know, Bryce got iced in the starting gate. And that's, I mean, that kind of stuff happens, you know, you figure out how to deal with it. That's part of the mental challenge. And I mean, it happens to everybody. Getting flagged off is another one, right? Halfway down a run, you get flagged, you got to go back to the start, you know. I would imagine that for these guys, 1 day delay wasn't that big of a deal. On the other hand, you know, it's 2 days in a row without being on the course for all but 3 of them. And that, you know, that does add up. I mean, a multiple day delay, I think, is a disaster. 1 day, you know, 1 day happens, but, you know, multiple days is a disaster.
We had the multi-day delay in Vancouver. It snowed like 2 feet the night before the race on Friday. And they just said, we're pushing it to next weekend. We're going Saturday. They just a whole week. And we just went pow skiing in Whistler for a week, which was amazing. But then we were so smoked by race time. None of us had like a great race. But so my memory from Vancouver is like the sick powder skiing before the race.
That's so funny.
That's maybe not the best way to deal with it.
Oh, but these guys, I think Bryce made a great comment. You know, he was saying that it was just like after it was called that last training run, he's like, or the race day, he was just like, hey, you know, it's just today was gonna be a good day. Tomorrow's gonna be a better day. And I like his outlook. You know, it's just like everybody's in the same boat. You can't change anything. Make the most of it.
All right, let's move on to this downhill. And before we dive into everything, because it was great from top to bottom, I want to get your thoughts. First of all, for me, I loved the entire thing. I loved the course. I loved the blind knolls. I loved that they only got a couple training runs. It made it exciting. But the thing that made it the best for me, and AJ, you talked to us about downhill and about Kitzbühel, consequences. The course and the skiing told the story to me. You made a mistake, you were slow. You skied well, you were fast. It was simple. It was all about risk and good skiing. So I love that aspect about this race particularly. How about you guys? What stood out for you about this race?
My assessment of the course, and look, I wasn't there, never trained on it, but from what I saw on TV, the course didn't seem technical in the turning sense to me. Like it didn't have a rhythm section. I mean, there were like maybe 2 tough turns that you had to nail. And certainly there was that net turn that was like a little quick chicane out there and then delay the pressure and bring it back, right? Super critical turn. If you didn't do that right and got low, it was over. You had to nail that. But that was all part of the puzzle, like we talked about in previous episodes. To me, the downhill is a puzzle you got to figure out, right? And I think that course had a lot of puzzle pieces that you had to figure out. I wasn't getting the rhythm of the course from watching it, but still with all those blind terrain changes, you know, and all that kind of stuff, as what I consider myself as a pure downhiller, before they put in a bunch of turns, turned it into an extended super G. That's my soapbox for the day. But, you know, as a pure downhiller, I love that course because, you know, it was about flow. It was about letting them run. It was definitely a lot about gliding on the bottom. And I think that the one who could push the line the most and keep it smooth and sort of rhythmical as much as possible and clean, obviously that's really important in a race like that. I think those were going to be the fastest runs. I mean, it had some cool elements with that side hill. It had big jumps. It had gliding. And I don't know, for me, from where I was sitting, it looked like a lot of fun.
It looked like a lot of fun for sure. And like you said, there's maybe 2 or 3 money turns, and then it was a lot of hammer down charging, and you couldn't really make a mistake. And I think where we saw our boys or kind of make some mistakes was what Darren mentioned earlier with the snow conditions. Looked like maybe the setup was a little bit off, or just getting caught up on specific turns, and that kind of interrupting that flow. And that's all it took with such a tight race.
I'd say there was four tough turns on that hill. And one not being so much of a turn, but off the top, that left footer fall away. And it was where like Innerhofer went out there, guys were getting rattled. That one Austrian took it right in the face and was bleeding like mad at the bottom. Beat Feuz, the guy just lined up perfectly. Just the pressure of the turn. He was in his tuck like halfway out of that turn, and just the guy's like he was so good on his his feet. You could just see he's well connected, strong, powerful, but wasn't overdoing it.
Totally agree with you, Darren. Really 3 to 4 major turns that you had to hit, but there was terrain. There was also aerodynamics you had to think of. There was blind everything. So mentally you had to have that confidence and big airtime. Feuz, I don't know what jump it was, but the dude just Swiss aired it. But a great course and just made it a great race. Now let's talk about the US boys. I'm going to throw it to you, Squaw Valley Palisades guys. Let's talk about Bennett. Iced in the start for 15 minutes. How do you think it affected his run? And then what do you think of his run?
I felt like he was in the zone, even with that ice moment. They put the camera on him. He was like head down, just looked like he didn't care. He wasn't phasing him. He had to talk about the hometown support that these guys had. We had a parade at Palisades 2 days ago when the race was supposed to run, and it was like live feed going over to there, and it was just like seemed like so much support going for our boys there, for Bryce and Travis. And I think they were feeding off that, and also feeding off the fact they've both been skiing really well, and I think they were totally ready to charge. There's nothing holding them back. We thought they were medal contenders for sure. And that the little delay that Bryce had, I don't think it was a big deal. He, like Darren said, he had some great splits. He just basically, I think, 2 major mistakes. One where he kind of slid out and got a little bit high sided on his edge, and then down below where he really kind of missed the line on that toilet bowl turn, whatever you call that. And but I was looking at his splits. He had like 3 single-digit splits on the bottom, with that one he was like 30th where he made that big mistake. So that shut him down. And then with Travis, I thought he went out of the gate with some fire. His best split was actually his start split, which is like unheard of with him. He usually builds, going down the course. So I think he was like amped, ready to go, and just was a little bit too dirty on a couple turns and lost some time. But I don't think it was an issue of them not being ready. I think they were like ready to go, fired up. They gave it everything.
Yeah, I mean, I could just say the same thing Marco just said. And one thing, I was there at the watch party last night. There was a ton of support. We're up at Plaza Bar at Palisades Tahoe, and just like so much, like just the vibe, the support was awesome, and we were definitely feeling it for those guys. I got a little more like, I don't know, the kind of the chills. When you're around all that energy and everybody's all pumped up and fired up, cowbells are ringing, and I thought it was awesome. But Bryce, I mean, again, going back to, just his own words, he put down a good run. He was really proud of it, happy with it. You're on the edge, like it's a fine line, and maybe those skis are a little, the ski boot setup was a little bit too aggressive. Just getting caught off guard. If you're off balance a little bit, or you're just throwing off your timing, you're going to pay with that snow. Travis, he was giving me some inside info, and he was saying that it was a couple of days ago, but the snow was it was old man-made snow. It was like Beaver Creek, fast, but it was like a little more grippy. It was just so compact, and I think that was a big challenge for those guys. And
I'm going to take that transition, Darren, and I'm going to give, as a fellow East Coaster, I'm going to give RCS a little bit of love because, that course, no, listen, we were Monday morning quarterbacking this thing now, right? So I don't think that course was any good for him. I mean, it was maybe okay. It's a little bit like Bormio kind of with the flow and stuff like that, but I mean, it wasn't turny enough for him. I mean, and his downhill experience and stuff like that was a true downhiller's course where you just had to have that, that nose for those blind knolls. And, that was interesting that the NBC finally, put the clock on the jump, and it shows a tool that we typically use of figuring out direction using the clock and stuff like that. But I just think, obviously Ryan was putting it down as much as he could, but it just didn't play to his strengths at all. So, but hey, those guys all gave it their all, and that's what they're there for. And they're all, gosh, that course was just a mystery in a lot of ways that you had to figure out in the snow, frankly, in that everywhere over there. Like the ladies GS yesterday looked brutal with that snow. I could feel it in my knees and my back watching the edges hook up. Yeah, Bryce's turn there on that left foot. I mean, that's just a symptom of going for it. I mean, it was a bank turn he nailed the initiation. He built up a ton of energy, and he got too low. He was trying to grab his tuck too early, maybe, and the ski shot underneath him. So, it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
You wake up sore this morning?
I wake up sore every day.
watching these guys battle those super grippy conditions.
We did BNet yesterday up at Ski Bowl. So Amy and I were up there doing double layers of BNet all day long. Man, it was the ultimate parent volunteer day.
Good work. Stepping in.
I was impressed with all three of them. RCS, I think, was training, had some just tough training and brought it on race day, which was great. Bryce and Travis, super impressed. Travis, I get mad at him. I'm like, bring the energy, let me see it. And I saw it yesterday. It was just one mistake away from an awesome run. Bryce focused, not letting anything get to him, just one mistake away from awesomeness. So I was impressed with all three of them. At least they didn't ski bad and were slow. They skied on the edge, unfortunately went over the edge and paid for it. You can't be bummed out about that.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to throw this one out there. When Kriegmeyer, who ran first, after he got down, did you think he was going to win it? I mean, what did you think when Kriegmeyer went down? I'm like, that's it.
I know.
Really?
Too, man.
I think that.
I mean, a good run for sure, but there's like all the top contenders are coming down. After
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think it really, but I'm like, holy crap, this could be it. Cause I looked at the time and I'm like, dang, that's fast for, compared to training run time. That was a fast run. And, and I'm like, could be one of those days where bib one has, and then that delay, I didn't know how that delay was going to affect, conditions and all that, like maybe a Nagano style where it turned into peanut butter, but.
I don't think you could write a better story. Kriegmeyer has a clean run and sets the pace. Then you have someone go down and a big delay. And then you have Innerhofer miss a gate. Like, it was just so exciting, and I loved it. Who wants to talk about Feuz? The dude is amazing. Like, I didn't think he could go from that slow in training, which is his MO, to winning. It's just unbelievable. I was blown away, but you could see how he won. Cleaner, more attacking, big air. He won that race.
Yeah, that's a great example of just letting him run. I mean, that guy let's be honest, right? He's a bigger dude, right? He's a little bit bigger around in the belly, like me now, but he used that to his advantage. I mean, he just stood on his skis so well, and especially in that left-footed traverse at the top. I mean, like you were saying, he's so clean there. And I mean, I don't know. I was feeling it, right? I was feeling the whole downhill vibe when I watched his run. It was, nothing terribly impressive with the arcing turns, that kind of thing, but he skied well. I think that turn, I would love to maybe in my younger days try to figure that one out, but it felt like if you jumped off the left foot really quick and got out to the fence as fast as you could, that was too much. Like, you just spent all this time skidding along the fence until you got to the point where you could, pressure and get your direction. He just seemed to be a little bit more sort of direct to the apex of where he wanted to be, and then made more of a turn. And he just nailed it. And I think that that's one of those things. It's just an unusual turn setup. And, it's not like a GS turn where you have a, rhythm and an initiation and, and an arc. This was like I got to shape this one really strangely and bring it back. So yeah, it was fun to watch his run, man. It was really cool.
That's one of the big things we teach at our camps, at the speed camps, is speed tactics. You know, it's not the same as slalom and GS. And you got to spend as much time as possible in the fall line with a clean ski and go in the right direction. And Feuz is the master. He's not won Wengen, he's won Kitzbühel, he's won the Olympics. He gets it done, and it's impressive. Like AJ, like you said, if you saw Feuz walking down the street, you wouldn't say there's an Olympic champion, you know. But he's got that touch on his skis that is just amazing, and the way he lets that ski run is better than anybody.
Yeah. Besides those big wins, you know, like Feuz, 4 downhill discipline globes. The guy is just so consistent everywhere, and it's been really impressive. Like, you don't think he's going to do it the next year, and bam, he does it again, and all that. But yeah, I love like what how AJ just described that that one right footer before that big
saddle jump,
you know, like along the fence. You see that really clean. It came out like money. He came out high and kind of, you know, wrap up his tuck. He wasn't fighting a lot of guys. He took the power off the edge right on the breakover. He took that off, and then he could just still keep that like trajectory off that. Like, anybody that had it loaded, you know, I mean, no matter what your direction is, if you have that loaded, it's gonna pop you, and it's gonna send you further. And the more you're off the ground, you're gonna be floating down the hill. It's a big fall away. So he did that great, but he was just rolling in the middle. The guy was so, I mean, comfortable looking on his skis with the setup. Like, he was in his tuck. He was just like super smooth, find that fall line. And then I liked his tactic that it was after that, maybe the 4th split or 5th split. It's a big drop down where Bryce made a mistake. He came out a little further to the left and used that bank. Basically, like, I learned that the hard way in ski cross. Like, I would always go for a tight line down the bottom, but it was actually faster to be high up on the bank and come down on it. You generate speed. He kind of did that and was ahead of it those next couple turns. You know, the right, and then like going on the flats. And he took so much speed. And I love like just watching him on that right foot. As it gets really close, that channel, like a couple turns before the finish, he just flies off that little roller. Like, you could see the speed. He was just moving down there. I think he probably had like the biggest air on the bottom too. Some guys weren't even flying off that last jump. And Feuz he sent it. You could just see the speed there. And that was a fun run to watch. I mean, he eliminated all the mistakes, and, you know, he was like skiing it really smart and charging. So
yeah, it shows all the different lines you can play with, you know, and that's the part of that's where I call that a pure downhill, because when you can vary the line and look for speed in different places, it's so much fun. You know, it's not like just a one line course. So yeah, it was way cool.
But he didn't smoke everybody else out of the water, which was amazing. You know, there was still it was tight. It was still a really tight race. And
yeah, Clary 1/10 behind. I mean, 1/10 in gold. Holy crap.
Yeah. And then I was really fired up for Jack Crawford. Yes. 4th place. Like, I wanted to see him like get on the podium, because his training run was so fast. The first one, he made the gates. He was like the fastest, you know, first train run athlete. And that kid was skiing super strong, making power, making speed. And, you know, I was pulling for him big time. You know,
me too.
To get up there on the podium, but really close. Good job by the Canadian.
And the old fella, 41 years old, Clary. You know, Clary, he's 1 year younger than me, and it's so cool just to see him out there. He's gotten progressively better throughout his career. I remember in Vancouver, he was going to retire because he had a bad back. That was 12 years ago. He was like kind of over it, and then he's just persevered through everything, and to see him step up on the podium is very cool. Well,
that's where experience right there plays a big part. I mean, AJ, you could have come back and probably got on the podium.
No doubt. No, it could have been my best Olympics ever. For sure.
If you could stop every 3 gates and rest. No, very good. And you know, those Canadians are under the radar. But now I just pose a question out there for him. You know, now everybody knows him. Now there's a little bit of pressure. Will he feed off of that, or will he take a step backwards? Always interesting when you finally make that breakthrough, and that was a breakthrough for sure. Anybody out there ski not up to their par? I mean, I think Odermatt was right there. Kriekmeyer, as we said, had a great run. Kilda had a great run. Did anybody ski terribly that stood out for you guys?
Well, Innerhofer, I mean, that was like just crazy mistake right there. I mean, that was brutal, right? Just getting going and out. I mean, just charging on too much, and it looked like a tough. If you did it wrong, you couldn't get it back. It was a little wavy, a little bumpy, and that fall away pulling you down. He was charging too hard. Like tactically, going back to what Marco said, just having good speed tactics, and he just bit off a little too much right there and paid the price. But I didn't really see anybody really hacking, or there was those mistakes that jumped out, just like caught these guys off guard.
I think it was kind of notable that Jansrud did not start. There's a lot of hype, not hype, but everyone was stoked that he made the trip over there and thought he was going to get an Olympic start. He did the training runs. Definitely didn't look like himself in the training runs. He was pretty far off the back, and then he didn't start in the race. So who knows what's going on there? But his knee is definitely flaring up. But who knows if we'll see him ever race again? He's one of the elder statesmen now, so it's kind of bummed not to see him be able to go.
I was looking forward to seeing him go out of the start and run that left-footed traverse on that bad knee. But yeah, I'm glad he didn't if it was hurting him, but that would have been a telltale sign of how that knee was feeling.
Yeah. Last comment from me was this: I'm blown away. It was a new course. And so, and only 2 training runs really, yet the course was so tight, 10th of a second, 1600ths, 10 people in the first second. I know it was short, which tightens everything up, but I'm amazed that it was such a confusing and intricate and great, as AJ says, a puzzle that no one got it perfect except Foyt, but it was still so close. Are we going to see this downhill run again? I would love to see it, but are we going to China ever?
Well, I hope not. And I'm not even traveling.
It doesn't seem sustainable to me. I mean,
No.
I don't know what the plans are for that resort, but it's pretty unbelievable when you see the aerial view of they threw down a couple ribbons of snow, and they obviously did a great job to prepare the track, but I don't know if that's a sustainable model right there.
Right.
No. All right. Great job. Thank you. I think we all can say that amazing downhill race, amazing course, amazing competitors put it all on the line, and we were treated to an excellent race. Now we're going to move over to Super G, 2 days away from the Super G. Actually, it's just one more day from now. We have a question. So I'm going to start with the question, then I'm going to talk about the Super G on this hill. The question comes from Matt MP. He says, I see that downhill races get 2 or 3 training runs, but Super G gets none. Since the speeds seem comparable, but there are more turns, it would seem a training run would be super helpful. Yes. I was wondering how similar are the Super G and downhill courses, and how transferable is the knowledge of the downhill training run going to give you in the Super G? So let's talk about Super G. Should there be a training run, or is it part of the coolness of Super G that you don't?
No way, man. I like the fact that that's a no inspection event. And frankly, most of the Super Gs are run on the downhill courses. So you kind of do, if you're downhill, you kind of get that little advantage over the guys that are GS guys coming in to run Super G. And that course, I think, being as narrow as it is, and the way that the terrain features set up, there's going to be a lot of similarities in the Super G, I think. So I don't think it'll be that tough.
Yeah, looking back on my experience, actually, I was really upset that the team didn't put me into downhill training in Nagano. I made the Super G and GS team, and that would have helped me a ton. I think I still had a good race there in the Super G, but I wasn't as tuned in as I could have been. What AJ just said, how narrow the track is. There's not so much like of a different set that I can do in some sections. But I'm excited for Travis. Travis Ganon is like good with this kind of scenario. Totally. He's great. Like he's a little bit or more on the conservative side, which I think is going to help, with this kind of set over all this blind rolls. And he's got a good touch. So I think he's going to be a strong contender. I mean, look what he got, 3rd in Beaver Creek, Bridge of Praise Super G. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens here, but it's going to be a tough challenge. And I like the fact that there's no training run, just an inspection. You got to really put a lot of time into it, studying it And those guys had a chance to kind of figure out that the downhillers that are racing this are going to have an advantage on the Super G.
Hey, Marco, what number, if you could pick for the Super G on a new course, on a new hill, what number would you pick if you had the first couple number picks for a Super G?
For a Super G, I think like number 5 to 7 would be ideal. I think Herman always used to pick number 5 when he was in his heyday. Not that that matters, but if you're on number 5, you get time to see what the first couple guys do. You get a report from your coaches. The track is still pristine, and I think that's kind of the sweet spot right there.
I think a few more guys, actually, just since it's so unknown. I mean, I'm pretty sure Herman was picking 8. That was his number.
Yeah,
I would have liked to have gone like 11th, I think, just to have a few more guys so I can like focus on maybe 5 guys, see what's going on, get some information, and completely kind of like put it in my head and get away and have a little time to kind of maybe tweak my plan a little bit and have any info back from the coaches. So I think it pays off. I mean, that's Kilday's number. He likes number 11. I think it's a good spot. Like that snow it's not going to get that beat up with 10 guys and a few forerunners. So I still think that's a good position to be in. And so like maybe like that like 8 to 15 is going to be a good sweet spot for those guys.
I'll take your 11 and I'll raise you to 13 because
I like 13, man.
because it worked pretty good last night, and that's the number I won Valdezare with, and frankly, the snow conditions I think lend themselves to anybody that can pull one out from anywhere on that start grid is going to have just perfect chance because the conditions are great. And more information sometimes in Super G can, depending on your mindset, can be better than not enough. And I think, it's going to be another exciting one. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to watch till the last guy comes down the hill. It's going to be good.
All right. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to get your picks in order. I'm going to make my picks, but just to go over the standings in Super G, Kilde is leading, Odermatt second, Meyer third, Kriegmeyer fourth, guy named Raphael Hasser fifth, Beat Voigt sixth, Travis is eighth, and Ryan Cochran Siegel 11th. So I made mine. You're not going to be happy. Of course, I want the American Downhillers to win, and I think Travis has an excellent chance, and I think RCS, a sweet field skier and a technician, also has a chance. But I'm going to go with Meyer, Kriegmeyer. I know I hate putting Austrians there. Meyer, Kriegmeyer, and Odermatt, the youngster from Switzerland. Those are my picks. I know, don't get mad at me, but I'm going to throw them out there. Let's get the picks out there if you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right.
You know what? I agree with you on Meyer. He's feeling good, fast and downhill. You can't like count him out. So I'm going Meyer, and I'm gonna go Travis for second. I'm really feeling it. Plus, we need a little atomic to like mix up the head domination for the downhill, dude. I mean, props to the head team, Thals Gaber and Patrick Wirth and all those boys that I know so well that run the head program. But that was painful watching all those guys come in the downhill like that. And then I'm gonna go with Odermatt for third.
Okay.
I know that kid is just fuming right now, and he's definitely been probably ejected with a little more just inspiration with Voigt's doing so well. I don't think Voigt just doesn't have like those kind of like quick ness and turning capabilities for Super G. He could be probably top 5, but I wouldn't put him on the podium. So Meyer, Ganong, Odermatt, Super G.
All right, I'm jumping in. Odermatt is right in my top 3 somewhere. I'm not gonna rant, guys, but I'm going with Odermatt, Kilde, and Travis. And I think Odermatt's got the advantage because he's had some training on the hill. He was too small for, I think, to have success in that downhill. I didn't expect him to get a medal. Yeah, Darren, sorry, buddy.
And then
we're
gonna beat up on AJ here next time we see him, just making that comment.
But Kilde, I think, obviously for obvious reasons, right? He's run the downhill. He was pretty fast. He's obviously very fast at Super G in the World Cup. And I think this thing sets up great for Travis. I mean, I really do. I wouldn't be shocked if Travis wins the Super G. Hopefully he's not watching this beforehand. I don't want him to feel any pressure, but this is a good Super G for him. And I think he's probably a little bit stung about not doing a little bit better in the downhill. So maybe this is the right scenario for him.
I'm looking at the start list right now. They pulled the start list already.
Oh,
Our numbers, we got RCS 14, which is right in the sweet spot of what you guys are talking about. Travis is number 5, which is sweet spot of what I was talking about. And we got Bryce Bennett starting 22, which is maybe a little later, but.
Are you going an American sweep, Marco?
I'm going RCS for the win, Travis for second, and Bryce Bennett third.
Yes.
Oh, Marco.
What a limb you're stepping out on. Perfect. I love it.
If that happens, I don't think we're doing an early morning podcast the next day.
Yeah.
If that happens, I'm flying to China tomorrow to celebrate.
Oh, I'd love to see that happen. Let's see AJ over there go to the 3-week quarantine.
That is awesome. Hey, if one of those American downhillers wins a medal, see that 1984 Olympic suit behind me? I will do the next podcast wearing that suit if they get a medal. So that's all the inspiration they need.
Skin to win, like Bryce.
Always.
I don't know. Was he like in Beaver Creek? He was full skin to win. Like he pulled his suit off around his waist, bare chest. I mean, obviously it's 40 degrees. We're hanging out in t-shirts there at Birds of Prey, but I wonder if he was wearing, just going skin to win in China, a little more cold up there.
Yeah.
I went skin to win once and there was stuff peeling off me that I didn't need to have happen. So I ended that real quick.
That was Canadian style. AJ, what did you think about that skin to win? Did you ever buy into that at all?
No, wasn't my style, man. I like being warm.
Plus the suit sticks to you. It doesn't have, that shearing, with like something underneath you. And I tried it too. And even trying the wind tunnel didn't make any difference.
Yeah. No, that's all.
He went that route in Vancouver and he won the combined. Remember him going fully skin to win.
I love it.
Hey, thanks to Darren, Marco, and AJ for sharing with us their Olympic thoughts and memories. And I can't wait to see the Super G. Thanks for watching and listening to our American Downhiller podcast. If you liked it, spread the word, share with your friends, tell everyone. Just search American Downhiller podcast. Spotify and Apple for the audio version on video exclusively on skiracing.com. It helps a ton if you also subscribe. Looking forward to our next podcast. We will answer your questions and preview the women's Olympic downhill, as well as set up the final downhills of the season remaining after the Olympics. We will answer all of your questions. If you have a question, info@americandownhiller.com. Thanks as always. And remember, ski fast and take chances.
When in doubt, tuck it out.